My next guest, always such a pleasure to have her on the show, is a pip. I just like saying that, she's a pip. She is a Taupo District Councillor, political commentator, the one, the only, fantastic Christine Rankin. Geez, did you like that, Christine?
Good afternoon, Leah. Lovely to be with you.
Gosh, you even got me singing a little bit there. That was fantastic. I don't know. It's Friday, I suppose. I've just got the Friday funnies. All right, let's start with, where do we start? Lots to talk about. Secondary school teachers are planning to strike next Wednesday due to what they say is dissatisfaction with the government's latest pay offer. Now, the PPTA, the Post-Primary Teachers Association, has stated that they will only cancel the strike if the government improves their offer. Education Minister Erica Stanford describes their actions as deeply unfair to parents and students and pointed out the union's slick marketing campaign around the strikes, suggesting a premeditated approach. So first up, Christine, teachers have already received an average pay increase of 14.5% over the past 3 years. Do you think the government's current offer is fair? They're offering 3% over 3 years. It's like 1% a year. But annual progression of 4 to 7.5%, is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. In this economy and in this time when a lot of people are not getting pay increases because of the state of business, whatever your business may be, I think that's actually a very fair offer. But I don't think this has anything to do with the teachers themselves. Not really. They get wound up by their unions, and this is, look, unions have their place, and I've dealt with unions for a long time, and there's some really great things that need to be done. But I think this is absolutely politically motivated. I think they're able to stir up their members very well, and this is designed to get the government. But when you hear the story, most sensible people would think, they haven't had a bad deal at all. And an average increase, an incremental increase of 4 to 7% is incredibly generous at the moment. And bearing in mind this was early in the negotiations, there's probably a wee bit of room in there, which would make it ultra generous. I know they may not see it like that, but if you're looking in from the outside, and you've also got to say they have a minister who's changed their lives for the better. And I know a lot of them are connected to that current system where children lead their learning. What a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
I think they've got a minister that's absolutely onto it.
I mean, because the government says that the PPTA has only been bargaining for 6 days and hasn't genuinely engaged. So what you just said, it's a fair assessment then, isn't it, of the union's efforts?
They had a plan before this, and the fact that they've run into it after 6 days just shows it exposed them really well. Yeah. And I think that's tragic, and people should look in on it in that way. Most of us are being pretty sensible and careful during this time, and I don't see why the teachers are any different.
It's interesting because when the nurses strike or when teachers strike, it's quite interesting watching the public. Are they behind them? Are they saying, the teachers don't get enough, or the nurses work in terrible conditions? I don't know if I feel with this one that the public's going, okay, teachers. I don't know if they've got the backing this time around.
No, and I heard a deputy principal's husband talking about it yesterday, and he said, look, don't underestimate how good it is for them. And he was talking about from his wife's perspective, but the holidays do matter, and most of them don't work the whole holidays. They get huge holidays. That does count somewhere along the line, and apparently a lot of people go into teaching because the conditions are good, the hours are short, relatively short during a day, and they don't have to worry about childcare for their children. All of that's pretty attractive, you know. And
Well,
I am not anti-teachers.
no, but you are right. They get between 14 and 16 weeks a year, and then there's also non-contact days, which add up to about 8 days. That's when it's so-called teachers only day. What are they doing at school? And then you look at this: a secondary school teacher with 10 years experience can earn up to $147,000, including allowances. The average salary for secondary teachers is now $100,000, up from $93,000 3 years ago. Now, I know that all teachers are on that. I understand that. But like you said, the conditions, they'll say, oh, no, but we're not on holiday. We're grading and we're looking ahead and we're developing our next year's, you know.
There's some of that, but I think it's a
but
minimal proportion
yeah.
of their holidays. And look, I used to think they were badly treated. I have to say, since this government came in, I don't believe they have been badly treated. I think they've been acknowledged for what they do and how they do it.
Yeah.
And we need to start to get real.
Yep. You mentioned the minister, Education Minister Erica Stanford, Christine. She, of course, has been integral in the replacement of NCEA with new qualifications over a phased, timeline. And so you're quite impressed with what the minister's been doing in her time.
Wow. You know that leadership is my passion. So it's my profession. And I know not many people in New Zealand say that because we don't recognise it as being important. But it's been my profession for a long time and I'm passionate about it. And I can see leaders. I've always been able to find them in my organisation. I used to find them right at the bottom and bring them right up to the top.
Oh, nice.
And you look at that young woman and she is magnificent. She's shining very brightly and I worry about her for that reason, because I know what it's like to shine brightly. And boy, there's always someone who wants to stamp that light out. And it'll be your colleagues, because, she's a threat. She is a future leader, if she's allowed to be one. She'd be a magnificent leader, in my opinion. She is strong. She is straightforward. She's hardworking. She's visionary. She's innovative. Gosh, the National Party have got a couple of stars, but she, to me, is the epitome of the future for National, if they let her. Because the pressure on her will be enormous.
Immense. I mean, we were watching an interview with her, I think on Sunday on Jack. I call him Jack Tame. And everything he threw at her, she did. She just had the facts, the figures, said, no, you're wrong here. This is why we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. And he said, but what about this? And they were leaving them behind or whatever. And he could not trip her up. He just could not. And my husband said, and he's interested in politics, obviously. I'm, because he has to with me, but he looked at me and he goes, she should be the Prime Minister. And that was just that was not urged by me. I said nothing. I just said she's bloody owning this interview. She knows what she's on about. And coming across, and he went, she should be the Prime Minister. I went, well,
Well, it depends how pragmatic National can be, because if they looked at it clearly and coldly, she is the leadership answer. It might not be right now, but she is the leadership answer. But will jealousy get in the way? Because she's got the final thing that makes a tall poppy a tall poppy. She's beautiful. And people don't like that. Jealousy is a bitch, as I've said to you before. Yeah. And it's alive and well. Yeah. And unfortunately, if that icing is on the cake, they won't like it.
And is that, so
you say that? Because I think she's a star.
Yeah, you say that, and that's and jealousy. It's not just in you're saying in your experience. It's also from other women, correct? It's not the men solely the males' domain. Whoa. Yeah.
Do you know, through all of my trials and tribulations, and they were massive, it was men who supported me. It wasn't women. Women in my own organisation supported me. They used to tell me they'd follow me into war, which I loved. It was a war, actually. Yeah. But it was men who openly supported me, who wrote to me, who stopped me in the street to say nice things. And mind you, it was men who spat on me as well. Yep. But I didn't feel that same thing from women at all. And I still have some trouble with a lot of older women who I think might think I'm there to steal their husbands. Can I just give a public assurance? I'm not even remotely interested. I'm 71, and even when I was 40, I still wasn't interested in your husband. So nothing to be
Let's
panicking
just put it
about.
out there now. Love it.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
no,
I
I
think
hear
it was
you.
because I wore short skirts or something. They must have thought that I was interested. I assure you I wasn't. They're
It
quite
was your love. It
safe
was your
with
lovely
me
pins and your
now
beautiful
and
big
then.
earrings. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, remember, Mark Preble told me my earrings were a sexual come on,
that's
according to
right.
Darwin's theory. So, I was an evil woman when it came to
Sexual,
such
come
things.
on. Oh, Christine, you've got some great stories. All right, from the podium of truth to the no-shows, Christine, Jacinda Ardern, Chris Hipkins, Grant Robertson, Aisha Verrill, they've all opted out of appearing before the public segment of the COVID-19 inquiry, citing that they've given private evidence. The inquiry chair agreed not to summon them. The coalition parties have condemned the refusal as evasive and undermining accountability. Christine, what do you make of this?
Oh my God, all of that is absolutely true. How embarrassing. It's been just cringe making as they've given their reasons. Well, mostly
Hipkins,
Chippy has given his
Chevy.
reasons for not being there, and it's just been excruciating.
Yeah.
Do you know if anyone had any thought about voting for them at the next election? That must have been a killer, because that's what this party is made up of. People like that. There aren't many that act differently. This is a perfect example of it. And you look at the polls at the moment, Leah, and they look as though people are actually considering voting for Labor. No, they're not. Labor and the
You don't
Greens
think so?
Party. No, they're not. They're
No.
just sending a signal to this government to pull their finger out and get on with what they have to do.
Yeah, right.
I just think that was the icing on the cake. Just appalling. A lot of us are still feeling the effects massively of COVID, and
Yes.
it was them. It
Yeah.
was them.
Yep. Yep. I mean, Hipkins arrogantly kept saying that he's answered every question asked of him by the Royal Commission. He's given every piece of information, but he is not getting it through his head that the public deserve to hear from him in person. He doesn't get how the optics are, how it looks. And as you just said, this is a guy that wants to run the country again.
Leah, just remember, they got legal advice that said people would
Oh,
criticise them
that's
and be
right.
really mean to them. And,
Yeah.
they're little delicate Labor Party politicians. They can't be criticised. They never believed it when anyone said anything bad about them anyway. And I heard him say that. The legal advice we've got is that
Yeah.
people would be really, really nasty to us. Dear Lord,
I
that's
know.
what politics is all about, unfortunately.
Yeah. And, you are right. The taxpayers also paid for the lawyers. Dentons is their name, who, you are correct, advised all four of them to not appear in person. Well, we always knew that Ardern and Robertson wouldn't, because they're no longer in politics. But Aisha Verrill, Chris Hipkins, yeah, so they were told by Dentons, do not appear. And we paid for paid for their spin doctors. I
And
mean, talk
legal
about salt in
opinions
the
are
wound.